I've not actually come to make an investment pitch, so the things like IP details aren't in this. We're talking to people on the island about screening people here for pre-diabetes and type 2. And I'm also talking to Manx Telecom about a data partnership. Oh, I need this. So we've developed, and we're bringing to market next year, a test kit which people can use at home to do the gold standard test for diabetes. There is a bit of a diabetes epidemic currently. Half of the diabetics in the world are undiagnosed. It's about 360 million people currently. In 2035, according to there was a big conference last week in Melbourne, World Diabetes Conference, there'll be 600 million type 2s by 2025. It's now affecting 18% of pregnancies, so when you're pregnant, it can actually bring diabetes on. And crucially, if you look at the UK, there are 1 million undiagnosed diabetics, about 1 million diabetics, but 7 million people with pre-diabetes, and that's the precursor to type 2. And it's pre-diabetes, which is basically feeding the diabetes epidemic. The gold standard test is called the glucose tolerance test. It measures the body's insulin response. It's the only test you can use in pregnancy, and it's actually the most sensitive test for pre-diabetes and type 2. What happens in a glucose tolerance test is you fast overnight, measure blood glucose in the morning, and then you take a sugar drink. And if you don't have diabetes, the sugar levels rise, and then over time they come down, and you take another blood test 2 hours later, and if that test result is down, you don't have diabetes. If it's very high, you do. If it's somewhere in the middle, that's pre-diabetes, so you can use this test to detect the whole spectrum of glycemic difficulties. And what happens to bring the glucose levels down is your body produces insulin. This is just some data which I just discovered. You bought the company that produced this data, Miraculins, have bought Verilite. I think you're on the board, Jim. What this basically shows is, this is a study that a company did to compare alternative screening methods to an OGT, and this is the percentage of results in the methods that agreed with an OGT. And as you can see, on the basis that the OGT is a reference positive, and the sensitivities are quite low, and you get lots of false positive results. You can see here where if you bring the false positive results down by adjusting the test parameters, you lose sensitivity. And the importance of this really is, for type 2, early diagnosis leads to the avoidance of complications on diagnosis. Half of type 2s have serious complications when they're diagnosed. But also, only a sensitive test can find pre-diabetes, which is the key to the diabetes epidemic. To have an OGT, you fast overnight, go to a clinic in the morning. It's exclusively done in clinics, no food, no drink. They take a blood test, give you the sugar drink. You wait 2 hours, read old Hello magazines and things like that. They take another blood test. Typically, they send the blood to the lab, give you some toast or some biscuits or something to get your blood sugar up a bit. And then later, the results go to the doctor, and the doctor calls you. What we've done is build this thing, which is the stick, which has the diabetes test built in. It's in a kit which has finger prickers and the glucose drink, so it's everything you need to do the test. The device is wireless, and it's down there. So the device basically allows you to personalize the actual test to your patient record address, which we do wirelessly using NFC, which is, if you're staying in this hotel, your room card is an NFC device. So the patient is just given the kit to take home, maybe do it before you go to work, maybe do it Sunday morning, just make the thing a lot easier. But the results are captured back into our database, which next year might actually be on this island. And then when we work out the test results, we send those to the doctor, so the doctor comes back and manages you in the normal way. So although we're allowing a home test, we're not altering the doctor-patient relationship, which is important for patient safety, at least. So looking at our device, the device was evaluated by Oxford University a couple of years ago. They had 100% successful use by untrained people of all ages right into their 70s, which was the critical design goal of this whole development project. You basically start at the top and work your way down the steps. And the conclusions of Oxford Uni was this actually could be used for mass population screening. To do a glucose test, you need something to measure. So we have two biosensors under these slide-off covers A and B, which are here. So you basically slide the cover off, prick your finger, add some blood to the device. The device automatically takes a glucose measurement and stores the information at the bottom in this blue part. There are icons on the device which guide the user through every step. One of the things we've done with these covers is the covers are needed to protect the sensors from things like humidity, but we've made them bigger than we need so we can hide the finger pricking icons. So when the patient sees the test for the first time, it's less intimidating. And we've actually done a lot of user testing around this. So when you pull the cover off, it tells you to prick your finger, put on some blood. Again, work your way all the way down. We then have a printed instruction sheet attached to the device, which backs up the messages in the icons. And we find that by combining these two and a pictorial user guide, everybody seems to be able to do the test without any training. There's a timer built in, so you do this maybe Sunday morning, prick your finger, put some blood on, take your glucose drink, start the timer, watch TV for a couple of hours or read a book. If you were doing this before work, you could check your emails, make some calls. So the whole idea is about making this more efficient for patients, easier for patients to do. When the timer beeps, you slide off cover B and do your second test. And then what happens is there's a little wireless card at the bottom, 3 minutes break, which you break off. And that card contains all the test data, all of the timings. It records the temperature, which we use to maximize accuracy when we work out the test results. So no information is given to the user. In the trial in Oxford, we gave them a prepaid envelope to mail the data chip back to the hospital, which worked for everybody because everybody can post a letter. If you have an NFC smartphone, you can download an app off our website, and the app will just say, hold the blue bit against your phone, and it will send the data straight to us. We then send the test record to the doctor in the normal way. So we're just streamlining the process. I think I'm going to finish early. Courtney said he'd give me £1 million if I can finish in under 10 minutes. So the benefits to patients and providers are the glucose tolerance test is the gold standard. So the barrier currently, for example, is in London, 85% of all pregnant women meet the NICE guideline to have this test for pregnancy. And they're testing about 30% because they just can't get them in down to Denmark Hill. It's too difficult a place to access. So we want to make it easier for patients, easier for providers, because now you don't need facilities. You may only retest the people who are positive. So if you want to test 1 million more people, you just give 1 million kits out. You don't need more labs, more spaces. And it improves access. So, you know, pregnant women with children, it's easier for them to do. A lot of diabetes is in the elderly population. So we make it easier for people to get that test by essentially not having to travel to hospital. And it speeds up diagnosis because there are waiting lists for these tests. And in fact, they're just not being done because it's too hard. And finally, in our evaluation from Oxford, which was published in June, the American Diabetes Association essentially said, this is a game changer in detecting diabetes because it's the best test and now we'll be able to do it. That's it. One thing is we are actually, although I'm not making an investment pitch, we are looking for funding for commercial rollout. So anybody who's interested, contact Roy or myself or Courtney. And these slides apparently will be available in a few days' time. That's it, 26 seconds. Thank you.